Good afternoon. My name is Mohammed Abduroaf. I'm a practicing advocate in Cape Town, and today we'll continue with our Marriage and Divorce, our lawyer series. What do you need to know? We will try to simplify the issues concerning marriage and divorce. We're asking you to kindly register on our website www.ourlawyer.co.za/marriage-divorce. By doing so, you can register for the series and be informed as to when we are having these type of webinars. And after you have registered, obviously you can post a question regarding any aspect of marriage and divorce, and at the next webinar we will tackle it. So if you have a question regarding some specific issue regarding your divorce, for example, alimony, personal maintenance, accrual, there could be other aspects regarding the division of the joint estate. If you have those specific questions, please register for our Marriage and Divorce Simplified series, What Do You Have to Know? And by doing so, as I mentioned earlier on, you can pose a question, and at our next webinar, we will deal with that. It's a quick way of obtaining some type of expert family law advice via social media and via a webinar. The first issue regarding marriage and divorce would be what happens before you get married. Many people, they do not know what to do. All that they know that they have to do is see a marriage officer, sign whatever documentation there is, and then, have the reception, go on honeymoon, and so on. But what they do not know is that there are other aspects to look at as well. Firstly, the matrimonial property regime, which you and your spouse will wish to enter into. For argument's sake, do you want to get married in community of property? Meaning that whatever property, assets, money both spouses have gets thrown into one pot at the date of the marriage, and you share in that specific pot. So if the husband comes to the marriage with a deficit, with minus 10,000 Rand for argument's sake, he has to pay a few accounts, and the wife comes into the marriage with plus 10,000 Rand, meaning her bank account has 10,000 Rand in it. It means that at the start of their marriage, they're basically starting with zero. The joint estate is worth zero. If, however, the spouses are concerned that the other spouse might, for argument's sake, be in a very bad financial position, or he or she is afraid that his spouse might get the joint estate into trouble in the future because he or she is a business person and does a lot of risky type of work. If that is your concern, then you might want to consider getting married out of community property, where there is two separate estates. If that is the case, and one party gets into financial trouble during the marriage, only that specific estate gets looked at, and not the other estate. The other estate remains clean. That's the one you can look at when you have an antenuptial contract, out of community property, out of community and profit and loss, with the inclusion or the exclusion of the accrual regime. So the accrual regime is obviously something new in South Africa, not too new, it's quite some time in, but it's a concept that wasn't always there. Basically what it means is that if a party gets married out of community of property, meaning there are two separate estates, during the marriage, that is just how they will run their lives, their estates, their finances. The husband will have his money, the wife will have her money. If the husband gets into some type of financial difficulty, his estate could be sequestrated, meaning it is insolvent, etc., and he continues and the wife continues with her estate. Her money does not get touched. However, if they are married with a accrual regime, at the end of the marriage, it could either be divorce or death, whatever the case may be, they will basically share in the profits of the marriage. So a wife can stay at home, she can support her husband, she can earn no money, but she knows the more wealthier her husband gets during this marriage, and should something happen and they divorce or one of them passes away, there will be a calculation. And if her estate has not grown at all, and the husband's estate grew quite astronomically, whereby at the dissolution of the marriage, she was maybe worth 1,000 rand, but at death or divorce, he's worth 1,000,000 rand. She will share in that. She will get half the growth, the accrual. So at the end of the day is both parties will leave with an equal share of the growth of the marriage, the accrual of the marriage. And when you draft such an antenuptial contract, you stipulate what the net commencement value is. So at the start of the marriage, the wife might say, the commencement value of my estate as I'm sitting here today is plus 100,000 rand. The husband might say, for example, his is plus 10,000 rand. I'm using round figures. Not many young couples have that amount of money in their bank's accounts. But be that as it may, for the purpose of an example, they will stipulate it in an antenuptial contract. So at death or divorce, we calculate it based upon that, with of course inflation, etc. Then there will obviously be certain assets which you wish to exclude from the accrual regime. So you can stipulate the specific asset, this house, this property, should be excluded from the commencement and the end value. And whatever a person purchases with that specific property, so for example, if you stipulate a house will be placed, the name of the house, the details of the house is stipulated in the antenuptial contract. It is not included in the commencement value, and it should not be excluded in the end value of the estate. However, if that person sells that house during the marriage and purchase another asset, another property, that specific new asset, new property will also have to be excluded from the calculation of the accrual. It's a bit complicated. However, it's something which you have to discuss with your spouse before you get married in order to avoid any problems, any pitfalls from occurring during the marriage and at the end of the marriage. Then, of course, as I mentioned early on, you get the default out of community property type of regime where what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. And at death or divorce, the same applies. No one benefits from the other person. So, if those persons who intend getting married are in love with each other, wonderful, please get married. However, please know that there is not only one type of matrimonial property regime in South Africa. There are two, and there are three. Those are in-community property, which is what is mine is yours, what yours is mine. We share in the assets, the debt, etc. There are two others, out of community property, during the marriage, two separate estates. You can do what you want to do with your money, I can do what I want to do with my money, and life goes on. However, at death or divorce, if the accrual regime kicked in, was applicable at the start of the marriage, meaning we will share in the profits of the marriage. So we work out calculations, we say, okay, your estate grew so much, my estate grew so much, let's equal it out and let's leave with both. Let's share equally in the growth of the assets which we have acquired during the marriage. And then obviously there is the situation of being out of community of property with no accrual, and what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. It's important to know that if you want to get married without the accrual regime, you specifically have to stipulate that in the antenuptial contract. You need to stipulate you want to get married out of community of property, out of community of profit and loss, but you specifically have to stipulate that you want the accrual regime not to be included within your matrimonial property regime. It's very important that you do that. If you do not do that, automatically the accrual regime will apply to your marriage. That deals with today's discussion on marriage and divorce simplified series. At our next discussion, our next webinar, we will touch a bit further, maybe on antenuptial contracts, and maybe going a bit further to the aspect of spouses looking after each other, caring for each other, maintaining each other, and so on. And then we move on to children, and at the end we will deal with divorces, which obviously the issue concerning your antenuptial contract will kick in. Thank you very much for your time.